So I'm here with Dr. Johnson, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Partnership for Community Leadership. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing very well.
How did you get involved with the National Partnership for Community Leadership?
Well, 27 years ago, when the welfare program changed as we knew it, a number of private foundations began to create an infrastructure so that in those cases where children were, and moms in particular, were getting off the welfare rolls, there was a strong emphasis on father engagement. But there was no infrastructure to work with fathers. Yet he was going to be responsible for those things that fathers are generally responsible for. But we draw a distinction between what we call deadbeat dads to dead broke dads. And a lot of our dads, who have children, are don't have the education and skills to be able to make immediate attachment to the labor market that pays a family sustaining wage. And so organizations like NPCL came into existence to help create that infrastructure, and we've been doing it ever since. And what we do is build the capacity of agencies to work with men and fathers. Historically, the social work profession that really provides a lot of the human and social services in this country were not taught how to work with men, because the whole system, going back to 1935 and before that, was designed for women and children, specifically for widows and children, because the whole welfare system was predicated on the basis that the father was dead, which goes back to the Civil War, when a number of men did return home. Then you had charity societies that were created to support women so they could keep their children, so they wouldn't have to become orphans or put up for adoption. And in 1935, as part of President Roosevelt's New Deal, he made child support or aid to dependent children and child support, but child support came later, but to as a we call Title 4A, aid to dependent children, to support children through the custodial parent, which is typically, historically, has been mom, but now times have changed, but and dads are there, or at least not dead. But the question becomes, what is the on ramp for those fathers to be able to provide support to their children, whether or not they marry or not? They still have responsibility for their children. And the types of things that we do here at NPCL is advocate for policies, and we advocate for programs, and we advocate for resources to build capacity of agencies to work with men and fathers, particularly fathers who turn out to be many men of color.
Wow, that's incredible. You have your 26th annual International Fatherhood Conference in Washington, D.C. from June 4th to the 6th. What will be going on at the conference?
Well, we're going to be, it's an annual gathering. It's the oldest fatherhood conference in the United States. It started way back in 1998 in partnership with the Reinventing Government program that Vice President Al Gore was running. And the whole idea behind it is to come together with the parents, the policymakers, and the practitioners to really sort out problems, and also, more importantly, to identify solutions to addressing a myriad of issues that confront low-income families, from health to education to employment, but more importantly, with an emphasis on parental responsibilities to create bright futures for our children. And so this year we have a stellar cast of speakers. From the White House, we have Reverend Thomas Bowen, who is the Senior Advisor for Public Engagement for the White House, who's going to be one of our speakers. We have Kimberly Dent, who's head of the Ohio Father Commission. She's going to be speaking. Mr. Ken Harris, who's the Vice President for Community Engagement and Director of the National Healthy Start Technical Assistance Center. He's going to be speaking. Ron Mincy, myself. And so, again, what we do is come together and we kind of update ourselves in terms of where we are, and kind of moving that needle down the path of making sure the support is there for particularly low-income fathers and families, so that they can essentially become off of government dependence and be able to live a self-sufficient life in a healthy relationship in support of their children.
Yeah, that's beautiful. This year's theme is moving forward fearlessly. Why did you guys choose that theme?
We chose that because the fatherhood field has to be bold in its actions towards trying to work with these fathers and families. I think that because of what I'm going to call episodic funding, because of some of the disorganizations that exist, and I say that in a very in a manner that would suggest that there's a lot of services out there for fathers across the country, hundreds and even thousands of these programs, but it's unorganized. And I think that as we look at the renewal of what we call our Temporary Assistance to Needy Family Program, TANF, we have a federal program that's under the TANF system or the TANF category, and we want to make sure that we continue to boldly request those type of things that we need at the community grassroots level that's going to enable us to support families in the proper way, not for terminal support, because our goal with the support that we get for these families is to make them self-sufficient. It's all about that. It's not about a hand out. It's about a hand up. And in my view of empowerment, that we have to really boldly acknowledge is to get under these families, not reach down, but get under them and lift them up, and then make sure that's a sturdy plank for them to continue to move towards the self-sufficiency that they want and desire, and to be the best parents they can be. That's going to ensure the best future and brightest future for our children.
That's incredible. You have a situation in the United States where AI, is getting rid of a lot of jobs. The prices of things continually is going up. What can be done to solve the 1 in 6 children, under 5 who live in poverty?
Well, the thing is, you got to stabilize their parents. That's it. Or somebody else is going to do it. And you can be interested to know, Ryan, that a lot of these parents want to do the best they can under their circumstances, but they need the tools to be able to do it. For example, one of the big emphasis of our work is what we call co-parenting, healthy co-parenting. Why is that important for this generation of parents? Well, the generation of parents who have children living in poverty had these children, and they didn't really take in consideration what it really took to support their children till they reached the age of 18. And so what we try to do is to work with parents and at the prenatal stage, and to create opportunities for them to develop a healthy relationship, whether or not they stay together or not in a romantic way, but more importantly, to know that they can work on a healthy relationship and essentially come up with a division of labor and responsibility for their children. A lot of children who are born out of wedlock have parents who don't understand how to do that. And the reason why they don't understand how to do it, Ryan, is because 75% of Black children are born outside of marriage. 40% of all of our children are born outside of marriage. And that there's no legal or other basis or intervention that allows them to sort out their relationship challenges. And so what we're doing is we're creating programs around the country. I'm working on a major project in the state of Tennessee, a $25 million project focused on that very thing, working with parents to develop healthy co-parenting skills, whether or not they're married or not. That's essential because the point I want to make is that a lot of folks in our community, Black community and communities of color, have never really heard the term co-parenting. Why? Because their parents were never married. And that the co-parenting really comes out of a legal decision that the judge, courts require parents come up with as a part of a divorce. But if you've never been divorced, where do you get, the support you need to work out that co-parenting agreement that's going to be essential for your child? Because when you don't do that, children fall through the cracks. That's where your poverty is. And so we're trying to our mission as an organization is to reduce child poverty, but the way to do it is a lot of innovative strategies that talk about relationships, that talk about the importance of education and getting education beyond high school, using our entrepreneurial abilities of our parents to do different things, and just give them the support they need to really rise above the challenges of the workforce. For example, there was a study that came out a year or so ago, and they said there's 1 million or more jobs available for people to take advantage of. Problem is, people don't have the skills and the knowledge to be able to take those jobs. And so, what part of these programs have to do is to link these parents to career paths within that will enable them to have a family sustaining wage that's needed to support children today. You know, from birth till about 18 years of age, which is that age of emancipation, to raise a child in this country is probably close to $450,000, $500,000 from birth to 18. Ryan, that's a lot of money. All right, that's a lot of money, and that's just at a basic level. You know, we just talking about food, shelter, water at a basic level. We're not even talking about on the high end, right, of the income scale. But the point is that, you know, a lot of parents, and I'm not, you know, berating them, but children come into this world not playing for the economic, emotional, and nurturing support they need to really live out of poverty and to also move on a path where they can be like my parents. My parents, you know, worked so that I could go to college. I worked so I could go to college, you know, or at least get the skills to be able to get a job that pays a wage that allows you to take care of your basic needs. And that's what this is all about. And so when you think about that 1 million jobs are not being filled because of the lack of workers to be able to take those jobs because of education or a skill deficit, that becomes, you know, what we try to do through a combination of software, I mean, what we call soft skills in terms of communication, to be able to deal with anxiety, to be able to define your manhood, to be able to define your womanhood. Those are soft skills, but those soft skills then begin to be translated when that responsibility is accepted to the need to have the hard skills necessary, you know, the education and the various skill areas that are needed to be able to be productive citizens and to be able to support yourself and your family.
Wow. Dr. Johnson, the MPCL, they've been going during this conference for the past 26 years. Can you talk about, like, you know, any personal stories that you've witnessed that, like, you know, show the impact of the organization and the
Oh,
conferences?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, when we started, it was only the National Fatherhood Conference, right? Only fatherhood conference. Now they have they have just 2 or 3 national conferences now. There are now many more regional conferences and local conferences, and I'm happy to report that we were the kind of the catalyst that led to that. And so that's a good thing because in many respects, it's going to take, you know, local grassroots organizations, you know, reaching out to parents and being able to provide the types of services that they need. That is a big accomplishment. And that if you look, for example, if I look at it in terms of at least the federal statistics, and I say federal and not necessarily national because our federal program is a federal program, it's not a national program. And the reason why is because it's not in every state. It's a competitive program. And one of the things that we want to happen is that if the federal government is going to support fatherhood and programs for low-income parents, it needs to be in every state. It should not necessarily be a competitive situation. But the way it's set up right now, that's how it goes. But based on that data, that there's several thousands of folks. I'm going to give you a number, maybe over the past 3 years, maybe 20,000 folks have gone through those programs and have been able to acquire the knowledge and skills they need to become successful parents, all right, and successful workers. Challenge is that while you had more than 20,000 enrolled, half of them dropped out before they completed the program. Not good, right? You know, because, you know, first of all, we would not tolerate, and we have not tolerated an exorbitant dropout rate on behalf of our own respective communities, Black, brown, red, yellow. You know, it's just unacceptable that only half of our kids, for example, get a high school diploma, right? So why would we think that having a program in place that's supposed to be helping parents, you know, move up and to have the skills necessary to reduce their public dependence, why would we think that a 50% success rate is the way to go? Now, listen, 50%, starting from zero, right? Don't get me wrong, is not bad. However, we gotta have to have high standards for these programs, and we have to advocate to make sure that that folks complete and then they get attached to the labor market. One of my real issues also is that when you have these fatherhood programs, I really want a metric to be established that if he comes into the program and he's not visiting his child, for example, if he stays in the program 4 to 6 months, there should be some things worked out so that if he's not in jail, if he's not abusive, and he wants to be a positive part of his child's life, the program should do whatever it can to make that happen. What does that tell me? One, it tells me that you got to work with the mother also. You can't really be successful in fatherhood without the mother. So essentially what you got to do, you got to educate both parents so that they are on the same playing field when it comes to the division of labor and acceptance of responsibilities for their child's care from birth to the age of 18. All right. The other part of it is that we have to make sure that when these fathers complete the program, again, they're not in jail, they're not abusive, and they're willing to be a good parent. That the program should have that as goals of the program. There's no father should go through father program who meet the criteria that I just mentioned and not have access to their children. Because if you don't have access, it starts with access. You don't have access, how are you going to be father, right? And then father is the first step. What the father's working towards is the term of endearment, daddy. There's no way you can achieve daddyhood without access to your children, all right? Which does not necessarily mean, going back into the relationship that didn't work and thinking that, it's going to be romantic again. That, if that's what they desire, then the program should work towards that. But if that is not what the program and the participants desire, then you have to work with them where they are. And I think that these programs that combine, education, healthy parenting skills, co-parenting relationship skills, particularly with the large number of children being born outside of marriage. And it's important to understand that this is a cultural phenomenon. The notion of having children outside of marriage is a cultural manifestation in American society. It's only a problem when children are poor.
Wow.
You follow that? It's only a problem when children are poor. Because, when you think about some of the, the celebrities who have children, never been married, no problem with them. They, y'all doing good. You're doing well, staying together kind of thing. All right. Because they have resources. But when the parents have children outside of marriage and never intend to marry, that was not even, a thought about when they had their romantic relationship, and again, I think that part of our goal through the programming and technical assistance training that we do is to create what I'm calling a new generation of grandparents, right? And what's that new generation of grandparent? A grandparent who've gone through the program, have learned that, what challenges they had, growing up, because a lot of these mothers and fathers, didn't have, a father in their life, right? Also, and so what they're trying to do is be the best parents they could be to their children that the father they didn't have. But you got to gain the knowledge in order to do that. I often tell people during training, I said, nobody's required to parenting school. That don't mean we shouldn't have one, right? And for certain groups, who because what I learned, I came from a family of 10 children, including 8 boys. Wow. My father, was he worked in the factory. He was also the pastor of a church, but he was a loving dad, and he used to get teased a lot about the amount of kids he had. James, what do you do with all those kids? And let me tell you what the crown jewel remark he would give. He said, I will have as many children as I can support. Right? That's the crown jewel right there. And so, we really want, because we can't stop folks from getting involved in romantic relationships and having children. All right, but we can insist when that relationship dissolves that they have the tools necessary to provide the support to the children and to be able to wish each other success in their parenting. A lot of times when these relationships dissolve, it's good riddance, right? And neither parent really supports the other parent towards the goal of being a successful parent. But we have to stop that. That's an educational process, right? Because if you haven't seen it growing up, you really don't have that as part of your parenting set of tools. Because when they complete, what we want them to be able to say when they become a grandparent is that I'm glad I met Ryan, or I'm glad I met Jeff Johnson. Why? Because I learned the things necessary to break what some of them refer to as the generational curse. All right, because what they use the knowledge that they've gained and they pass it on to their children, and then their children pass it on to their children. And Ryan, cycle broken. That's an educational journey, that's an employment journey, and that's a parenting journey. And so we have to make sure that social workers and others who work with these parents have the necessary knowledge and tools that they need to do effective case management, to be able to give folks the knowledge and skills that they need in order to be successful, independent of as a successful, independent of the government supported type of programs. Because if we're successful in the work that we do, public assistance won't be necessary.
Most definitely. Dr. Johnson, I really appreciate you for taking the time. Best of luck on the conference. Where can people follow you on social media?
They can follow me on our company website, www.npclfathersandfamilies.org. That's www.npclfathersandfamilies.org. And you can follow me on my personal website, Jeffrey M. Johnson. You know what I mean? And you'll see I have a son who bears my name, but I'm older and he's younger. But he is Jefffery, not Rey, Jefffery, Jeffrey Johnson. You can find me on both places, on the company and on my personal, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok, and most of your social media platforms.
Thank
But
you,
again,
Doc.
the conference on June 4th through 6th is really going to be an exciting conference. The first day is free; people can come. We also have a limited number of full scholarships available. If you contact our organization, you get a free scholarship. That's a first come, first served basis, and you will leave, motivated, and hopefully go back and use the information you've gained to better your community and to strengthen families.
Definitely, Dr. Johnson. I love the work you're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you.
No, thank you.